Welcome back to Stocklabs for another market recap. We're into 2022 now, just had our first full trading week, and it was kind of rough. So, hope you all had a good New Year's Eve and all that, but it's a pretty quick wake up call from the market that, at least it's going to start out a little bit difficult. We can take a look at our major indices and how they performed for the opening week. And it was pretty soft throughout. So S&P was down 1.8%. We had the NASDAQ, the big underperformer, down 4.5% almost. Small caps pretty weak, down 2.85, almost 3%. And the Dow actually held up okay, basically flat, down like 0.25%. So pretty broad-based weakness. The NASDAQ leading to the downside is something that we haven't seen recently. So that's a bit new, and small caps being weak too. If the small caps are weak and the NASDAQ's weak, that's pretty much it for the market. It's not going to be able to hold up too well. For our leaders, being that the NASDAQ was so soft, you can imagine that this was not a good week for them either. So Facebook held up the best, down 1.25%. Netflix got smoked, down 10%. Nvidia down another 7%. Microsoft down 7%. We probably haven't seen a week that bad for Microsoft in a while. Let me just see. I'll add a column here for all 52-week highs. So, yeah, who's down the most? Okay, Netflix is down 25%. Nvidia is down 20% from 52-week highs. Tesla has been really weak, down almost 20% from 52-week highs. And Amazon, that has been pretty range-bound for almost a year now, back down to 15% off 52-week highs. So, all of these down at least 6%. So Apple only 5.94% off highs. The rest, basically 10% plus. Google's like 9%. So you can sort of see liquidation going on in these large leadership names, which generally means that the market overall is not, it's not set up for an immediate bounce. We're going to need something a little more capitulatory, like we'll get an oversold signal at some point probably, and then from there we'll see what the action sort of looks like. As far as the rest of the returns go by market cap, so 1 to 5 billion down 2.63%, 5 to 10 billion down 2.5%. Large caps 10 to 50 billion down 2.4%. Pretty even so far. Mega caps 50 to 100 billion down 0.33%, so a pretty big jump from the rest. And Terra caps were down about 0.5%. So we still have sort of the framework where the mega caps and Terra caps are holding up better than anything under 50 billion, but being that the stocks leading to the downside, at least this week to start the year, were out of the best performers of this group, it sort of remains to be seen if there's going to be if this trend is going to stick where these are the outperformers, where the larger cap stocks are the outperformers versus the smaller caps. I'll jump into the industries and go to week to date. Okay, and the only bright spot this week were basic materials. So a lot of the oil names, energy names, things like that were holding up pretty well, while the rest was being sold off. Utilities kind of flat, financials flat, but there were certain pockets of strength there. Consumer was flat, and the rest was all basically bad. Median tech stock down 5% is a bad week. Healthcare down 5.5% on a median basis is, at this point, par for the course. We're sort of, my thought at the end of 2021 was that you might start to see some rotation into these healthcare names, but that really hasn't materialized yet. They're still getting smoked. So eventually that'll turn around, and this will become probably a leadership group at some point this year. But for now, it's still more of the same. In our subsectors, you see oil and gas were the top three. Even nuclear caught a bounce. Oil and gas again, so 4 out of the top 5. Certain bank sectors were up. So big banks, even foreign banks, you don't usually see that. Another oil and gas, airlines bounced. But you can see a lot of these. There's no tech. There's no tech subsectors in here, so there's not even any pockets of tech that are performing very well. Where's the first tech sector that's gonna appear here? Okay, telecom. So that's in tech here, but really they're treated more like utilities by the market. So pretty bad week. We did have, let's see, this is 19 sectors up 5%, which is better than we've seen the last few weeks, but didn't really do anything for the overall market, just because where the biggest weakness was, those are the largest cap tech stocks. I mean, those are the ones that govern the indices, basically. And then to the downside, so health insurers down 10%. That's pretty big. Semis, you never really want to see semis leading to the downside like this, down 10%. And then, app software was getting crushed. Some of these app software stocks, SaaS type stocks, are down 20% already year to date, which is, no one would have seen that coming even a couple months ago. These stocks were still flying high for the most part. More semis, internet stuff, networking. Okay, so and you can see by this, a lot of the worst sectors are all in the tech industry. So let's see about intelligence for, if I can find it. Where'd it go? I know my intelligence screen is in here. Here we go. Okay, ETFs. Okay, so for this coming week, second week of January, intelligence is looking for sort of a bounce. So you have SPXL on here, you have Ultra Tech. Even oil is supposed to continue higher, Ultra S&P, and China. So been a while since we've had China rated as bullish. I know for the better part of last year, at least the second half or longer, these stocks were in, or they still are, but they entered pretty severe downtrends. So we'll see if we can start sort of hammering out a bottom in the Chinese stuff, and then that usually precedes sort of a more risk-on attitude, speculative attitude in the market. So I'll reverse this just to see lines up, if some of these things sort of line up with that. Okay, so DUSL is industrials bull is rated as bearish. So bearish industrials. Now, none of the other stuff showed up here. So Generally, you'd want to see also sort of the inverse S&P, inverse Qs, ETFs on here, things like that, that sort of, in my mind, corroborates the bullish rating on the bullish ETF, but we don't have that. So um, maybe we have some more work to do as far as finding a little bit more of a tradable bottom, swing low, whatever you want to call it, in the market. As far as our overall algo, I'll show this. I like 6 month on the hybrid side. It's kind of close to this oversold line, but not really. I mean, this to go from 2.43 to 2.26, locking in oversold, it could be a pretty big move in the market. Like, you'd probably need another flush type day in order to lock this signal in. Same thing goes for 12-month. It's around the same spot as the 6-month, just a little bit lower, 2.24 versus the 2.26 on the other one. And then if we ever get that, our stats for those signals are pretty good. So, 85 to 100% win rate, if you're looking at anything past, 3 days toward 10 days, 2 weeks. And 12-month, same thing. You have like 75, 100% ratings on if those signals actually hit. So it could be that the best bet is to wait around a little bit for one of those signals to hit, either, maybe this week at some point. For people that are trading a little more actively, I think you could probably start taking some shots. I mean, the intelligence, the real-time intelligence for those individual ETFs was rated pretty bullishly. So maybe you get a bounce this week that rolls over again, which if that happens, then you'd really only want to be waiting after during the rollover, you'd really only want to be waiting for an actual oversold signal instead of trying to chop yourself up going back and forth. Yeah, so that's about it. I mean, tough start to the week. There are probably a lot of people in the hole already, but it's a long year. So this could just be a little bit of start of the year rotation. I did think that we'd trade higher this week, when I was looking at it last week, just because the starts of the year are usually, pretty bullish periods. We still do have January seasonality kind of at our back, where at some point it should kick in, but 3 weeks to go in the month for the most part. This could materialize in the final week. So that's not saying that this week has to be bullish, but it is something to have in the back of our mind. So that's it so far for me. Good luck this week. Talk to you next week, and happy 2022.